Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Empty Quiver, everything archery related and a little more, proudly sponsored by Tethered, Vantage Point Archery, and Darton Archery. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined here by a familiar face, Troy Fowler. How you doing, buddy?
I am very, very good. Very good.
It's good, man. Very good. And it's I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's 2 years ago we did our first podcast together. And since then I have absorbed and taken all sorts of information in from all everywhere, So it's going to be interesting to catch up again and kind of touch base and see where I sit compared to when we first talked and stuff like that.
Well, you've been putting the stomping on too, so now you got some stuff under your belt. So that's one of the things that is interesting to talk to you guys when you come back around, and I see the pictures and I follow you on social media and all that stuff, and you've been to Africa and all that good stuff. You start shooting stuff. Some of the stuff makes sense. Some of the stuff doesn't happen. You don't get a plan B shot, then it never comes to fruition. It's fun to watch it happen because that's what happened to me with the pigs.
Exactly.
I just was struggling, and then all of a sudden I just went like that. So we'll get into that.
No, that's cool, man. I appreciate it. And like you say, actually I bet a lot of people appreciate it, but you're pretty approachable with, if anyone's got questions or whatever, you're really good at getting back to people generally, as long as they're not assholes, of course. So,
I don't get a lot of that because I'm brutal. I swing, right?
Are you?
Right. You can either do nothing or punch, and I decided I'm swinging.
So, yeah, fair enough.
For the guys that are just, there's people who curiously ask things and they're not intentionally trying. You can tell. And then there's people who are just coming after you, right?
Yeah.
And I just swing back. I mean, it's just like my newest response is, "Hey, this is great. I'm glad you've killed 9,000 animals and you stop shooting inside of 150 yards because it's not fair."
Yeah.
Got it. Start a YouTube channel and disprove everything.
Yeah, I mean, or the other thing is I'm happy for you. Why did you contact me then?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So, no, that's cool, man. And I just wanted to quickly touch. I listened to the John Dudley podcast with you, and John Dudley really helped me with all his videos, the School of Knock and stuff like that. And I'm not at all bashing the man, but I just wanted to say that I thought it was a bit unfair, the setup. That's what it appeared to me anyway. It's like he didn't really ever ask you stuff. It just looked like from the get-go you were wrong. Does that make sense? He'd already made up his mind before the podcast was on. And I was kind of actually expecting a really good debate where he'd at least ask you some questions about some of the stuff that you've been testing and stuff. And again, I'm really not knocking Joe Dudley here. I'm a nobody, and he's really great for the archery world stuff.
Sure,
it's just a little bit of critique, and I thought it was. I was really sitting down and looking forward to getting into it. And just never really got into it. As he'd broach a question with almost or you're already wrong, but this kind of mentality.
It was fine.
Yeah,
I didn't know what to expect, but I've been a professional salesperson for 22 years.
Yeah,
you learn to read stuff real fast.
Yeah.
Quickly saw that where it was going, and I decided that it would be better to be moderately diplomatic and just play along and get to build a relationship there.
Yeah.
Rather than just come out swinging. I didn't know if it was going to help anything because
I don't. I
talked to John for probably 3 hours on the phone over a week. There, we were trying to get it set up, and then we get lost talking about stuff and laughing a lot. We actually have a lot in common, and he really has. He's pretty passionate about helping people. He's got shooting centers all over the country and stuff. I mean, I'm going to say this because I don't care. He doesn't know how to say, I really like helping people. I don't know. It's just not in him, right? I could hear it.
Yes.
He communicated it to me, but he never said, dude, I love teaching people how to do stuff.
Yeah, his whole brand. His whole brand screams that too. You know what I mean? Look at his YouTube channel. Everything he does is tips and help and trips.
He's trying to help. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
we had that in common, so I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to roll with this, go with it, see what happens. Hell, if he comes down to Austin, I'm going to go meet him. And if he'll come to TAC in San Antonio, I'll probably roll down there and go actually put a face to a name, say hi, play grab ass. That'll fix a lot of stuff. It will.
Is he going to, like, I remember on there he said he was going to give you some lessons or
No,
something,
he
which
won't have time for. I mean, if that happens, I'd love to shoot with him. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
who
like
wouldn't,
that.
right?
That's exactly
So
what that's
I was
exactly what I was going
serious
to
about
say.
that.
Is yeah, I
But I
mean
doubt that'll
anybody,
happen. I mean,
yeah,
he's just
anybody would be stupid to pass that up, right? So
right. He's so
yeah,
busy, right? I
yeah,
just can't see him carving me out. But
yeah,
if he calls me and says, "Hey, I'm in Austin, come down to the shop," I'm going.
yeah, sweet man.
Why
Oh, that's
wouldn't I?
cool. Yeah, exactly. No, that's cool. I just wanted to talk to you about that and just share my opinion on it
Yeah,
all. And
sure.
again, it's actually not a slight either way. It was just like some
It was fine.
what do you want to call it? Positive critiquing or whatever. I don't know what the term is, but
Mm-hmm.
so right. So 2 years has passed, Troy. What has changed? Like, what is your setup at the moment? Like, has anything changed in the 2 years? Like,
Mm-mm.
do you remember what you were shooting 2 years ago to what you're shooting now? Or
I am shooting 715 grains of the 300 grain tough heads, a 40-yard setup, 25% forward to center,
mm-hmm.
bare shafts like darts.
Yeah,
And I just, so I accept some limitations. I don't shoot past 40.
yeah,
I don't shoot past 40 because I shoot a big old heavy arrow. I
mm-hmm.
don't like what I see down there.
Yes,
My skill set under hunting situation, I don't think it's for me.
yes,
There's people who can launch it. I say this a lot. I actually said this on Dudley's podcast because he rattled off a big name of people, and I don't know half of them, but I knew two or three of them because I don't keep up with all that stuff.
yeah,
I fish a lot, and I really try to keep myself out of all the fray of that stuff so I can have a clear mind at times about things. But that being said, you just rattled off like the top people in the world. We're talking about Major League Baseball players who can hit the
mm-hmm.
curve.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about me.
Yeah.
And I tried to get him to engage a little bit there. But anyway, backing up.
Yeah.
I know my limitations. And it's not because I'm shooting what I'm shooting. It shoots 45. I've just never been comfortable shooting further than that. And the more I study animals moving during the shots, it's like terrifying. And
Yeah.
I've seen some clips come up of a couple of the big brands shooting 100 yards and the arrow's coming and the animals move. They say 110-yard shot. It's like, right. I mean, I saw the animal start moving. Where did it hit? It's on target.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the animal moves and it just gets, that's my limitation. That arrow platform, I'm used to the trajectory. I've shot it for so long, and brother, it don't stop.
Yeah, I mean, like as I've gone along in my archery process now, like if I find something that works, I leave it, which is really boring, right? But like, I've stuck with the Easy V side now. That thing is gold for me.
It's gold,
man. I don't know what it is. You just relax your brain and just pull through, and it goes where you're looking. It's amazing, and I've shown it to heaps of people now. I
describe that thing as traditional with a reference.
Yeah, exactly.
So trad is more real feel, like throwing a baseball or kicking a soccer ball.
Yes.
You don't think about the pass across the field. It just goes when you're good. It goes on target. You just don't think about it. But the Easy V side, once you stop thinking, and just believe.
You just pick that spot, man, and you look at it, and it goes there. It's amazing.
You're just kind of like, yeah, that's about right. And you shoot, and you go, I can't. My buddy Darren Jones, he's ex-military, served in Iraq, Afghanistan. He's been in what he calls, all the military guys call the shit.
Yes.
He's shot some killer weapons. He currently works for a night vision company and gets to go pig hunting at night and run some great firearms, right? And he shoots the Easy V. And if there's somebody who should be technical and anal about their pin settings and stuff, he literally sent me a picture the other day of a group like that, but he goes, I have no idea how this thing works.
Yeah. Well, I took it,
right?
Because I've been to South Africa twice this year already, and the first time I went with an electronic sight. It's not a range finding sight. Mm-hmm. It's basically one that's single pin, and then with the push of a button, it quickly goes back to 5 pins again, right? Mm-hmm. So and because like I love single pins, but I hate them because animals move, and I hate having to readjust. And I know there's other combinations, but so this one was cool. I just wanted to try it out, and they'd asked me to look at it, and I did, and it was a fantastic sight. But I still went back to the Easy V after that. That's all I'm going to say is like, it just, for my brain, it works really, really good. So
I think under stress, it's the most relaxing thing in the world. There's you don't realize the mental gymnastics you're doing when you lasered 4 trees, you forgot which one's what, because I never remembered.
Yeah.
That's for an accountant brain. There are people who keep track of that. I can't. So you
Yes.
laser again, you put your thing up, and then deer decides to hop 3 steps, but you're at full draw.
Yes. Just a
And
little adjustment.
I did a
That's all
whole
it
video
is.
on that and saying you need to practice that with pins. You need to just blindly walk back 3 yards, laser, walk back 4 steps, and shoot.
Yeah.
Practice that and see.
Mhm.
Because what that trains your brain to do, if you're a pin shooter, is your brain, you don't realize your brain sees the trajectory. Your hold off is really your brain going, when I throw from third to first, there's a whole lot more arch to the baseball generally than from second to first.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that. You just throw the baseball.
Yeah.
So if you're a pin shooter, that's that. With EZV, it's lights out. That thing
It's
is
money. It's money.
And it's killer at night.
Oh, it's great. I used it in Spain on boar, and there was like a little bit of a moon. And so I just lined the silhouette up in the V, no lights on or anything. Like, guys don't use, I mean, like, I think lighted pins and stuff are the stupidest idea in the world. They're just very, for me, counterintuitive. When it's dark, the pin goes on and you can't see past the pin properly anyway, usually. So the Easy V doesn't have any illumination to it, but you can see the V clear as nuts at nighttime. And so I just put it on the silhouette, drew back, said to the guy, "Yep." He flicked the switch on the light. I just had to make a slight adjustment, and I sent it. And he was like, "Oh man, you shoot too fast." I said, "No, you don't understand. I'd already had it lined up before, and it was just that slight little adjustment I needed to make."
It works really good with a bow mounted light as well.
Yeah, it would do actually. Yeah, I can.
So I've got the Sniper Hog light, and it's a real short one, and it's got a little bracket on it. And that when that beam throws out, you can see the V. Because
here's something that's going to blow your mind as an American. This year in Finland, where I hunt, we're allowed to use green lights on whitetail deer. Because there's so many of them there that they want, and the days are short as well. So, and a lot of people finish work when it's dark, so they're trying to get people to get out there and give them a little bit of extra hunting time. So, So, that's all good. So, I have gone back a little bit. I went up to 700 grains just to try it, play around and stuff like that. And then I went back down to 420, because I just wanted to mentally check again. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to go back and recheck stuff. And I think now the 500 to 550 is good for everything.
That's where I saw the first aha when I dared to do this before the channel.
Yeah.
Struggling on pigs. The first time I dared to put a 100 grain insert in, spine up one step, and put 125 grain broadhead on, it was like lightning bolts going through. It was a completely different experience.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't hit anything hard, the trajectory is good. The penetration is going to be exceptional.
Yeah. Well,
what broadhead are you running though? Are you running anything?
So, we'll get into that a little bit later on, but I'm running the single bevels from VPA, the tool steel ones.
Okay.
150 grain.
You're going to see more performance out of that. You're going to see better bone performance just because of a single bevel.
Yep.
Whatever platform a single bevel is, even with the lighter arrows, you'll see increased performance because of its capabilities. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's all cool. But I blew through wildebeest. I was watching our podcast earlier, and I like the frontal shots, and I frontal shot a warthog, and it lodged in its hip with that. So it's a killer setup. I'm shooting 72 pounds as well, so it's that's kind of that hot, apart from the 80-pound bows that's up there. So
pretty zippy.
Yeah. Now, before we get too stuck into the archery, I have a question. I've seen you fishing and putting trackers on fish and stuff. What is that about? That looks really interesting.
So Texas is one of the big bass states that started. Actually, we have a program here called Share a Lunker. So if you catch a 13-pound plus bass, they're 24/7. The state's waiting for a phone call. They got a tank, oxygen, water, a truck, and they'll come get it.
Okay.
All year. There's dudes on call waiting to pick up a 13-pound bass.
Wow. Okay.
And they've bred the bass in Athens, Texas, and then they've released those fingerlings into lakes, and they've done it in lakes where they started them with Share a Lunker fry,
Mhm.
and the bass are just enormous because they already have the genetics, right? They're already
Okay,
they're
yeah.
already the
It's
top. They've already
so
got the possibility of going to 13 pounds.
so it's like the whitetails and the high fins.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
right.
that for
They do the
bass,
same thing
right?
to them, right? They breed them in a
Nice.
roundabout way,
Everything's
except the bass can
everything's bigger in Texas.
so the Texas coast, there's two places in the world where they believe the next state record or world record speckled trout will come from.
Okay.
And that is the Indian River Lagoon area of northern Florida on the East Coast and Texas. Okay.
Gotcha.
The ecosystems are favorable. The fish are there. They get bigger. There's just stuff. So there's a huge push here. There isn't a bass fisherman in Texas ever kills them. Like nobody eats them. You see it because the tournament guys always throwing them back. It's
Yeah.
kind of wired into bass. A few people eat them, and it wouldn't hurt to kill a few of them to help the ecosystem. But that being said, mentally, bass fishermen don't kill them.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, there's a huge push by mostly fishing guides, honestly, to stop killing the speckled trout and let them grow. There's a guy who has he self-funded this thing called Trout Tagging Texas. And he'll send you the tags and you tag him and send him GPS coordinates. And he's tracking all these fish we're tagging. It's totally, grassroots. The state's not funding it, nothing.
Cool.
And it's just a bunch of guides involved. One of my guide buddies has 27 fish he's tagged. I've tagged 5, and I'm not tagging small ones. If they're not over 22, I don't tag them. I'm tagging big fish and bigger fish that we want to, the ones you don't want to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's an awesome program, and I don't kill them anymore. Like the saltwater guys, for some reason, a guy will go bass fishing, come to saltwater, and he thinks you should fill an ice chest and stack ice on top of everything that's legal. We got limits. Stack them up.
Yeah,
hang on the nails. And that guy will go bass fishing for 2 years and never kill one.
Yeah.
So we're trying
to
change that mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this something that anyone can get involved in? Like, how do people help out? Or is it at the moment, like, on purpose, which makes sense? They're trying to kind of limit it just to keep it more controlled. Or can people get involved? Like,
yeah, you go to Instagram, go to Trout Tagging Texas, and if you're in Texas and you're a Texas, saltwater fisherman, reach out to the guys and they'll send you tags. So they sent me tags for the surf and they sent me tags for the bay. And I usually fish in the out front. I fish in the surf this time of year. Well, mostly that's my addiction. 37 years of it. Mrs. Fowler calls it my crazy girlfriend, and she was just down there with me this week when we were whacking on them. And I just really like the guy's heart, and I like the idea, and I want to catch one of my fish.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
One, right?
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
So they've had a couple trout go 10 miles, like pretty far.
Yeah, you should put little names on them just to make it more interesting, Yeah. Or just put a TF on it so people know if they catch yours.
Right, ranch fairy on the side of the fish. Brand it. So beautiful. I just really like the idea. That's cool. Like I said, I've probably caught 250 trout in the last 2 years, and I haven't killed 4 of them. Sometimes you gill rake one, they're bleeding out, and I'll kill them.
Yeah.
And then I'll catch one more.
Sense. Yeah.
And I'll kill it, and that's it. But if I don't hurt them,
gotcha,
I'll throw them back. And it's just you get old and wiser. We used to stack them up. It just it's wild. So it's really fun. It's fun to stick them with that pin and turn them loose.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
That's I always thought catch and release bow hunting would be fun, but can't do that.
No. It's they do in Africa now, right? They do a lot of green hunts for rhino and stuff like that. So, there's a chance actually that I do a green rhino hunt next year. I got offered it. We'll see what happens. That'd be super exciting. But
Seth bought one at Dallas Safari Club. Seth was serious, and I don't know what happened. I got to talk to him about that because I know he didn't shoot the rhino with a dart. So we'll see what happens. I want to go on that. Yeah. I don't care who shoots it. I just want to put my hands on a rhino and take a picture with one. Would that be awesome? Are you kidding?
Yeah. Well, I got to put my hands. I got my put my hands on a hippo this year because I went with Tim Wells to
Mhm.
Africa as well and did some filming and stuff for him there, and that was pretty awesome. So
Yeah,
they're very cool.
they're very huge.
Yeah, and I had assumed they'd just be completely fat, right? Because they look fat, but it's like 2 inches of skin and fat, and then it's solid muscle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they
I was
swim all the
completely
time.
wrong.
They just swim all the time.
You know what? They don't taste that nice,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I was expecting them to be good, but
Mhm.
I mean, maybe we didn't leave it hang long enough. But it was pretty chewy and tastes pretty bland, actually. So
Huh.
it's yeah, yeah, very bland.
Got to try it, man. Got to try it.
Yeah, definitely got to try it. So yeah. All right, let's get back into the archery. So I have got theories, and I literally was just on Facebook before we started this, and I saw some more. Okay, there's like the classic that you see everywhere is I know it was a good shot. I don't have a blood trail. Right? You've probably seen that
Mhm.
a lot of times now,
Mhm.
and I think I've cracked it
Crack
now,
it.
and I think I cracked it, and I've got like footage now from me doing it 2 or 3 times. Okay, so and with 3 blades and 2 blades, I haven't done the mechanical yet.
Mhm.
But so basically, the best shot you can make in terms of a quick death with a bow, obviously, I mean, if you hit it in the brain, obviously it's going to
Yeah, right.
die, but that's not a good shot to
And
take,
just
right? Everyone
saying,
knows that.
we're up to 6 headshots in the Ranch Fairy Nation this year. I had 7 last year. They're not trying to
Not
head
meaning
shoot them.
to. Yeah, exactly.
They're
Yeah.
doing the Matrix. I've got 2 in the back and 4 right in the forehead where they spun towards the hunter and got it right between the eyes. I just don't post them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's fair enough. It's a good idea not to post those ones. People think it's the way to go. Sadly, some people. So,
Yeah, right. So
but
what's the magic sauce here?
so so the best shot in terms of killing it fast, okay, is not the heart shot. It's across the top of the heart. Now, I know I kind of talked to you about this at the ATA show a little bit about it,
Mm-hmm.
but here's my theory. Okay, so if you hit the heart, it can function a little bit, and the whole artery system holds pressure a little bit as well, still. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cut across the top of the heart, then you cut all that plumbing straight off and you get instant pressure loss, like
Yeah,
instant, right?
cardiogenic shock is what it's called. Well, that's the
Yeah.
control. Mm-hmm.
And so, but the problem with this, and this is why people aren't getting bleed outs, is because, I mean, unless you had like a really high angle down with a low exit shot,
Mm-hmm.
but because as soon as you lose that pressure, it's the same as like dead things don't bleed, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
because there's no pressure in the heart. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing pumping. So
Right.
the only blood you're going to get out of that is stuff that's leaking out of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have cut, especially from the ground, if you shot across the top of that heart, all of a sudden, all the blood is just filling that cavity of the chest. Everyone would have opened these deer up, and it's just a big blood pudding in there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But there's no pressure pumping blood out of those holes and spraying anywhere, right? So I'm sure there must be people that lose their deer because they get disheartened. They don't see any blood trail anywhere. And, like for some reason, people are so fixated on blood trails, right? And which I understand, like a blood trail helps you find the deer and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's all about shot placement, and people say, "Hey, what are the blood trails like on these broadheads?" Well, instantly, it doesn't matter which broadhead you
Doesn't
use.
matter which
Okay,
one it is.
if you shoot different parts, even of the lungs, you shoot. I mean, you shoot high lungs, you're going to get a bit of blood trail because there's still that pressure there, but you're still getting a lot of the blood running into the cavity of
It's called
the
gravity.
chest. Exactly right. So that is my theory, and like I have 3 animals. Like I just haven't got time to put this video together, and it's kind of a technical video, so I don't know if I quite have enough material yet for it. But
Mm-hmm.
like the impala I shot, that was at 30 yards, again perfectly straight across the top of the heart. I've got the video of the autopsy, what do you want to call it, when the guy flops it out, and you can see where the arrow's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that jumped 40 yards, fell over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not a single track of blood there. And if any of you guys have been in Africa, we got the black trackers onto it. We got
Mm-hmm.
all the pHs. We know where the animal went, and they could not find a single speck of blood anywhere.
Yep.
Same thing. We open it up. There's a huge big chunk of blood in the chest. It's just
What did you
congealed in
hit?
there.
What was it? What did you hit on the impact and the exit?
What do you mean by what? Do you mean as an internal damage or external damage?
On the thoracic wall. Did you hit anything
So no,
hard?
so and like I'm not super technical, so maybe I get the wrong
Well,
terminology,
okay,
but
let me make it this easy. Did you hit a rib?
I don't think so. No, I'm not sure, to be honest with you,
Okay.
because all we did is we opened it up. Or maybe I might have a photo of the rib cage somewhere too. But basically, when we removed the lungs and the heart really carefully, and obviously it had gone through the lung because you can't
Sure.
really hit the top of the lung at
Sure.
the top of the heart without hitting a lung.
Mm-hmm.
Straight across and cut one valve off completely and half of
Mm-hmm.
the other one,
Okay.
and then out the other lung and out the other shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So there's a couple of reasons there. Oh God, tell me I got it. Ooh, I got it.
you got it. This is going to be juicy.
I can't believe I still have this. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Where's the
Yes. There's the hole.
All right.
But
This is shoulder meat,
yes.
independent of the chest wall.
Yes.
When they run,
Yes.
it goes like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you shoot them, you got that.
Yes.
And when they run,
I gotcha. But the thing is Troy, like I understand this part, but
Mhm.
in order for stuff to come out of that hole, there needs to be pressure in the chest pushing that blood out, right? Because otherwise it's just leaking into the chest cavity.
correct.
You know what I'm saying, right?
No, that's totally factual. There's
Yeah.
no secondary pressure mechanism. So there's a couple things going on there. The trachea comes in right there, right about where you shot across the top of the heart. So
Mm-hmm.
the minute that trachea is submerged, it can't blow any pressure against the blood and make it come out anymore. Whereas a lung hit, the air could go into the lungs and then they could blow and it would blow out the holes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
yes. Yep.
the reason why I asked you what you hit is if you dead center a rib, then the rib's going to crack and then it's going to come back together. It's not going to stay
Yes.
apart. And
Correct.
there's so much going on there. There's so much going on there that it's not predictable. Now, I will admit this. When you get a 2.5-inch wide hole from a mechanical broadhead on there, it's just a huge hole. Your potential for having a blood trail increases by sheer size of the wound. And then you only get 7 inches of penetration of blade snap off, or it doesn't deploy, and there's a lot of troubles there. So with a big wide broadhead, it's going to make a big wide hole.
Yes.
That's logical. The trade-off is you've reduced the area that you can hit to penetrate. You can't hit shoulder blades. You can't hit a humerus. You can't make a mistake, and your penetration is generally going to suffer. And when I started studying this, I realized that the lower 1/3 low kill shot, kill them in 100 yards, is the only thing you should try to achieve. And then if you get a blood trail, you get a blood trail. There's a thing going on in the single bevel world, and a lot of the broadheads get the wide version of the broadhead, right? Wide, single bevels, wide, double bevels, all that stuff. Well, your trade-off is going to be arrow flight and penetration on plan B shots. That's your trade-off.
Yes.
If you hit something hard, wide is harder to go through. That's why nails are long and skinny. That's why I just got hit by a stingray the other day, but that's why this is long and skinny. That's a sticker from a stingray.
Gotcha. Yep.
Because
I've seen those before.
In nature, I got hit. Luckily, I got hit right in the dead center of the ankle bone, and it didn't penetrate at all. No FOC, and he didn't have a tonto tip on his. I got really lucky.
Yeah,
but anyway,
you nearly got Steve Irwin, right?
Right in the leg. It was pretty wild. So you're never going to control it. If you shoot from an elevated position and you get a quarter away shot with the widest mechanical broadhead, and you do get 14 inches of penetration, but it doesn't exit, deer's not bleeding. Gravity's pulling the blood down, arrows in the animal, no exit hole.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I shot mechanicals, man. I shot mechanicals in Africa when I went. I killed a kudu. No, I killed a black wildebeest, shot him right in the heart with a rage, and I got 9 inches of penetration, but I cut his heart off. The blood sprayed out a foot, right? So I've done it. And the trade-off was I had a lot of weird ones. I just had stuff that was just not explainable happen with them. Remember, I generally hunted a deer feeder. I know the distance. It's not brain surgery.
Yes.
I'm not stalking elk. They're right
Yeah.
there, 17 yards.
I guess I guess what I'm trying to say is because, like I say, is I've shot everything there apart from a mechanical now. But maybe I said springbok earlier. I meant impala. I'm not sure if I said impala, but I got the video of it anyway. And
Yeah,
this thing is jumping around as crazy. Yeah, I did say, okay, that's good. Jumping around insane, okay? Like, of all things you'd think would shake blood out at some stage, this would have been the animal to do it. But like I said, there was just nothing there at all. And I would almost bet, just again because of what I said, unless it was like maybe like a big 3-blade, like a what are they called, Grim Reaper or something like that, because that's punching like a proper nice big hole in it. But if using like a 2-blade Rage, I don't know if you would have got any blood coming out of that still, just because of the theory. There's nothing pushing it out of there. Anything that's coming out of those holes, because you've severed the arteries,
right. The blood's the blood's going where it's going, and it's cut off inside. There's nowhere for it to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
you're right, and gravity's pulling it down, right? So
yeah, and the only reason I've been thinking about this so much because I see so many disheartened people, like, and I just want people to know that, like, if you made a good shot, right? Like, and the other thing I think is very important from what I've seen, like guiding and stuff now, the first thing you see with your brain is correct. Don't start thinking about it too much, because then your brain changes stuff. Like, now I video everything with my clients because I need to know what the shot was like, right? But
yes,
I almost guarantee you that every single first time I saw it was the correct thing. And then the client will start thinking about it. And, oh, did this happen? Then you're like, oh, actually, I don't know. Let's go back and look at the camera. And then, we can see what the shot was like, and we can tell what we should do, wait, follow it up, yada, yada, yada. But I just want this to start becoming a bit more talked about, that blood trails are not like, it's nothing to do with the type of broadhead. Sure, if you manage to hit the deer in exactly the same spot with 5 different broadheads, like apart from the shot I'm talking about across the top of the heart, then you probably would get different things just because of the surface area and the different holes. That is not, I'm not debating that at all. But what I want to say is that, like, the best shots I've made over the last few years has almost been no blood trail at all, and that is
the animals don't
because
go anywhere.
the animals don't go anywhere. They don't. I mean, the thing is though, if they ran into a thick bush, you know what I mean, like, and you didn't find any blood, I think people would freak out and get a bit overwhelmed by it all. So it's I just think people need to start talking about this more, and like stop asking, hey, what is this broadhead like for blood trails? Because you're going to get 15 different answers. You're going to get 20 other people suggesting different broadheads to you. And it's not about that. It's about shot placement. And that's about it, really.
So I'm going to do more lethality focused discussions for 2024. Your goal is to not chase them about.
Yeah.
Your goal is to be devastating.
Yes.
And don't worry about the rest of it. There's a 360-degree circle around you, and when you shoot the arrow and the animal runs off, you've got about 10-degree wide area to go down.
Yeah.
You don't need to close your eyes and walk in circles looking for a damn deer. It went that way.
Yeah.
Or it did a loop.
Yes.
I do encourage everybody on Earth to get a selfie stick. Do not try to zoom in. Just hit play.
Yes.
Get that stupid animal in frame and shoot it. You can zoom in later and get some data. Right?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example.
And lighted Nox, please.
Yeah.
Lighted
My
Nox
nephew, he texted me and he said, oh, God, I hit one in the guts. It's terrible. I'm the worst shot ever. He's beating himself up. And I was like, okay. I said, come in. He said, I got my video camera running. And I
Mhm.
said, okay. Well, what happened was this pig it was at a feeder and there's a bunch of them. So they're just moving all over the place. Well, it kind of stopped. Well, he lets go and it decides to move. And it walked
Mhm.
forward and then heard the arrow and took off and hit it right in front of the hips. And I
Yeah.
slow the video down and I saw the arrow go like this and then
Yes.
redirect. And I
Yes.
said, you hit the spine.
Yeah.
The pig is dead. Because if you hit
Yes.
the dead center of the guts, it would have gone straight through. You
Mhm.
hit something hard.
Mhm.
Because he was shooting 600 grains in a single bevel. On an 80-pound pig in the guts, it ain't redirecting.
No,
Right?
it ain't even
But
flinching.
I saw
There's
it go like
nothing.
this, and then it took off. And I said, that pig's dead.
Yeah.
60 yards away. He was all
Yeah.
sad. And then we were like, done. If I didn't have the video, we
Did it?
kind of looked at the arrow because it had some green and red on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it
The
went through the
Christmas tree.
intestines too. But I encourage everybody to do that. But there's another part of this that I've talked about a lot, and I'm gonna keep hammering is sharp and durable sharp really matter.
Yeah.
So this is Aaron Snyder's deal, not mine. But
Yes.
when I was on his podcast, he said, "Hey man, there's an A+ arrow system that could erode to B,
Mhm.
and then if you start with a B+ arrow system, it's going to erode to C."
Mhm.
And he said, whether that's structural integrity, blades snapping off, whatever the
Yes. I understand. Yep.
whatever the fail point is, it's either going to stay the same or erode. They don't get sharper
Yes.
or better. The same thing happens with blades.
Yes.
So you're shooting a pretty thick broadhead, pretty easy to sharpen, and they hold their edge.
Yeah.
So an A+, when you shave your arm, the hair jumps off. It doesn't lay on it. It's just popping it off. Sharp broadhead may erode on a hard bone hit to thumbnail grabbing.
Mhm.
Okay? But if you take a thumbnail grabbing broadhead and you hit that bone, it's going to go to flat. Let's
Yeah.
assume the same erosion rates.
Mhm.
Okay, on exactly the same hit, which is hard to replicate, but everybody kind of gets the concept here that we're going downhill. Well, now you're running a very dull projectile through soft tissue that does not want to get cut. It wants to move. It's highly mobile.
Yes.
And arteries are pretty tough. They're actually semi-muscular. So one of the effects of your body is your arteries actually change diameter to control blood pressure.
Mhm.
It's not just your heart. It's all of it working together.
Yep.
It's not like the upper and lower hose on your truck and only the radiator and the thermostat lets the fluid through. It's not like that. If those tubes on your radiator actually change diameter,
Yes.
that is what your body actually does.
Mhm.
So they're semi-muscular. So you come by something like a rubber band and something's pretty dull, it will not get severed.
Yes.
So let's say you have 10 things it goes through that are bad for the animal. Alveoli, airways, major lung hits, arteries.
Brain.
Yeah, brain's good. But we're talking about chest here.
Yeah.
Atrium, ventricles, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Let's say you hit everything and cut stuff, but you do not cut an artery because the broadhead's dull.
Mm-hmm.
Your lethality just went in the toilet
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't cut really important things to kill stuff.
Yep.
You've reduced say it was 100% and then you reduce it to 50. Well, your blood trail is going to suffer. The deer's going further, animal, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a sad, long day tracking an animal.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a combination of sharp, and durable sharp.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to survive impact. And I think I lost when I stopped shooting mechanicals. I shot a pig that weighed 230 pounds with a Schwacker. It was the last animal I ever shot with a light arrow. And it's one of my really old videos. It's on my channel. It hits him and stops.
Mm-hmm.
He runs by the feeder leg and the arrow just flies out of him.
Yep.
And I wasn't convinced. This is 2014 or something. I kept seeing this slow, heavy arrow and going, that's never going to work.
Yep.
And I had a 600 grain tuned up with a tough head on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, well, I bounced that one off of him. What the hell else? So I go back 2 weeks later. The same stupid pig shows up in the same place. I buried it to the flesh and he went 60.
Yeah.
I never looked back. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I had the same shot in the same pig at the same spot.
Yeah.
Now, in the defense of the mechanical, if I could have hit 2 inches to the right and smoked his ass, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hit
Of
something
course.
hard,
Mm-hmm.
but that old slow 200, that arrow was probably going 230 or something. It was a switchback XT. It was like 60 pounds. It was super slow.
Yeah.
Ooh, just chunk right through him. And so it was down and forward, but that broadhead doesn't. The tough head just. I've never seen blade chatter on a tough head on the long tough
Yeah.
head. Not once.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah.
So
No, that makes sense.
if
I
for
mean,
those listening, let me make this point real quick, Matt. I want
yeah.
everybody to just understand the point I'm making here is the summation of this is durable and sharp.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cheap Chinese steel broadheads out there that are stainless and they're sharp
Yes.
until they touch the side of a rib and then they fold over.
Yes.
That is not durable and sharp. That is sharp in
Mm-hmm.
your hand, cut the hell out of you when you're fiddling with them, drop one on your
Yes.
foot. I mean, cut the hell out of you. But when
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
280 feet per second and it hits a rib and there's 13 of them and it flattens, if you have a 3-blade, you now have a 2-blade.
Mm-hmm.
You're not helping yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, like the other thing too, which, you know, I don't know, you were just talking about, like, you run a longer single blade, do you? But like, because we were talking about,
It's
God, what
that
the
one.
hell do you call it? Yeah, that one there. So like, I can't get that to fly on my bow because my bow's too fast. Turns into a fucking airplane and it goes where the hell it wants to go. Even with fletchings on and stuff like that. Like my arrow setup, like I say, it's about 500 grains at the moment, 510 I think, and it's doing 290 feet per second. And I've
Mm-hmm.
played with a lot of different broadheads with slow motion and everything like that. And the only reason I know it's the broadhead is because it is inconsistent results, right? So like, 4 shots will be fine, and then
One's weird.
like 3/4 the way down. That's the other thing, is it's 3/4 the way down. You can
Yeah.
see it go "Rrr," just like
I
a
haven't
little
figured that out yet.
fish.
I've had a lot of people send me video of downrange
Yes.
destabilizations.
Well, it's. I guarantee you, if you got a fast bow out there, switch to a shorter broadhead, and you'll be golden. That's all it is. It's like, yeah, it's like the nose of an airplane down there, and you hit like maybe behind some trees, there's a bit of wind or something, and it just gives
Mm-hmm.
it a little flick. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
That's
I think, but I do not know. So arrows. Where's Big Jake? All right, this Big Jake.
oh yeah.
Arrows are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that and
Yeah.
rotating
Yes.
all the way down range. People.
Yes.
They're not stable. They're not this and rotating. They're
Yes.
bending like that. And well, guess what?
But
Your broadhead
yeah.
is doing that out front.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing is that because it's doing that, and maybe it catches an ear pocket or something, it's just quickly redirecting is what it's doing, I think,
Well,
because it's got
I bear
such a big
shafted.
fast.
I bear shafted
Yeah.
I shoot 250 spine. I shoot a 65-pound elite. It's pretty fast.
Mhm.
It would be as fast as your bow, but I'm not shooting 500 grains.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if I wound it all the way up, I'm only shooting
Yes.
65, but I could crank it all the way down. So it's
Yeah.
not a slow bow, but I bear shafted 250 spine Apollos with a 300 grain
Yes.
point. Not tuning
Yes.
them in.
Yeah.
And I shoot 1.5 inch long feathers. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't even have hardly any. So they fly because I tuned it that way.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. If your bow shoots a smaller broadhead and you put a big something else on there, then you're seeing the velocity for some reason. And I don't know what this is, because this is a really aerodynamic shape.
Yes.
It's not that wide and this long, right? It's
Yeah, but
what's
but the
not aerodynamic about that?
yeah, but the thing about it, Troy, is it's only a 2-dimensional aerodynamic thing.
Right,
Like,
but yours is
I,
too.
no, but yeah, but those are spinning. Like, for instance, the short single bevels, like I'm sure you know as well, but
Yeah.
like they stabilize so fast, man. They're awesome because obviously I'm obviously preaching to the fucking
Choir,
choir
yeah.
here, but like
You mean
this is
something
for
like
other
that.
people to listen to. Yeah, exactly. But for people to listen to, is like it stabilizes very quickly, and you don't have that much surface area because it's longer. And, like it's all about leverage too. We talked about leverage earlier. It's like if you have a shorter broadhead, there is less leverage on the air in front of it. Does that make sense? Like, and
No,
so you have
that's
that
an
long,
aerodynamic fact. Yep.
you have that long tip on there and it catches a little thing. It's going to greatly affect
What spine arrows are you shooting?
I'm only shooting 300s actually.
Well, that's why
at the moment. So, yeah,
okay.
but remember I don't run. Like my FOC is about 17% or something. It's not super high. I went up to the 20s and stuff like that, and that's when started to. I couldn't be bothered with the extra tuning to get that to fly properly for the results I was getting.
Yeah, you'd have to go to a 250
I'm lazy.
fine.
I'm lazy, all right. That's fine. So
No. You're shooting too
this
much
here,
You're shooting
and
too
I
much
tell you what,
for 300 for a two for.
the 5 mils that are on there at the moment, Troy, and I asked Daryl this is I can put 100 grain broadhead on there and 150 grain broadhead and hit the same at 45 yards.
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand. It's
Well,
great. It makes it really good. It's like I can just put my a shitty 100 grain thing for like vermin or something on there, and I can have my deer set up on the same arrow, and it's great, man. It's awesome. I love it. Like,
drag.
What's that? Sorry.
It's aerodynamic drag.
Is that?
Your 150 is slower.
Yes.
So what happens is when you shoot when you take 50 grains out, it goes faster.
Yes.
It's hitting the air harder, and it's slowing down faster.
Ah, that makes sense. So the drag is slowing the fast one down to match the slow one.
Right. The drag equation includes velocity squared.
Okay.
If you increase velocity, you increase drag squared.
Okay. Yes.
So that 10 or 15 feet per second you're getting there, squares the drag coefficient with the lighter arrow.
Makes sense.
And then that also works in your favor, lowers the drag, velocity squared goes down. It's crazy.
That's cool. Yeah.
I couldn't get over. So here's one funny thing about the Easy V.
Yes.
I shot 550 grains for a long time on the channel. 650, 550. I didn't go big one pump. I shot the 1,000 grain arrows just to do it. That was super fun. Killed a couple of pigs.
Yeah.
And it's a blast. But just to do it, right?
Yes.
So when I hit about 575 bare shaft perfect, I had to go to a faster V because the drag went down and it was shooting more parabolic.
Yes.
And I went to the same 3D range that I shoot all the time. And I went from 525 to about 580.
Yep.
And I was shooting high.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And I've shot the range a lot.
Yeah.
And I went, what the hell is that? Well, with Easy V, it's easy. Just flip the insert out, flip it back in. It's already zeroed.
Yes.
So I said, well, I can raise the sight or I can just go faster. That doesn't make any sense. But the drag, I didn't understand the drag equation.
Yeah. I that makes a lot of sense now.
And I went up in speed, probably 10 or 20 feet per second. And all of a sudden it was nails. Now,
yes.
Let me tell you what the trade-off is. At 45 yards, it started to peter out because the V's that Aaron made are for fast arrows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If his equation,
they're made for the standard arrows on there. Yeah,
right.
So, yeah.
If his equation for that V, if he would change the algorithm, which he's not going to do, is fine, to a 550 grain arrow, the V's would all be different, and it'd be the same. It would track on that drag curve.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I couldn't believe it. I shot like 15 targets. I was like, why do I keep hitting high?
Yeah.
And I went up in mass.
Yes.
And I'm shooting high.
Yeah.
And what happened is, for you guys who have pins, if you're shooting anything under 450 grains, look at your pin gaps. I promise you, if you've got pins out to 60, they're opening up as distance increases.
Mm-hmm.
That is the drag eating you up. And each progressive 10-yard distance further, the arrow is slowing down that much, and the pins are actually going doop, 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 and they're opening up.
So maybe we cut this next bit out, Troy, because I just had a fucking good idea. Is that golf ball broadhead? Okay. You know how golf ball works, right?
Yeah, they're dimpled.
Yeah, and because the dimples cut that drag out.
Yeah, help the lift. Yeah.
So if you had
if you had a solid golf ball, it doesn't go anywhere.
yeah, so if you had like a head a bit more like an Annihilator or something that was dimpled, I don't know.
Well, I will tell you, the Annihilator is the most draggy broadhead I've ever shot on Lab Radar. They don't like hearing that, but it's a good broadhead. It's short, it's blunt, it isn't going to bend, it isn't going to break.
It's the bulldozer, man. That thing's the bulldozer.
I'm not knocking.
No. I know. I know heaps of people that shoot them, and I've seen the holes. Good broadheads. So, yeah.
But this thing doesn't lie.
Yes.
And it was one of the more draggy broadheads we ever shot.
Yeah.
But not past, not till 50 or somewhere in there.
Yeah. But so that's what I mean. I was like, Daryl would be interested. He'd be the man to put that to. Say,
put the dimples on.
Yeah, like how big a dimples do you have to put before you notice the? And then what would that broadhead look like? It'd be a weird looking thing, man. But you know what people love is just new weird stuff.
I've been absolutely guffawed at how much stuff we've sold in the Ranch Fair store because people said, I want to try some new stuff. My stuff's flying great. I killed 4 deer last year. What's the next toy? And I'm like, hey, man.
The stick to it, man. Yeah.
Fishing? Like, that's all I do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny. People love to play with, and it's good. I've been very encouraged. One of the cool things that's come back this year, I probably get 30 pictures of deer, 40 a week, from people who say, hey, I did great, or they broke something, they shattered some leg or whatever, and still got their deer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of necropsy pictures coming in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people sending me pictures of lungs with holes and hearts with holes, and they're looking.
Yes.
And these aren't medical people. They don't say, hey, I'm an RN or I'm a doctor. They're just regular Joe who saw me do it and go, hey, I bothered to look under the hood.
Well, it's funny is more people need to do that. I was just talking to someone the other day, and they were. It was kind of painful, and I stopped replying because I was like, to shoot the top of the heart, you have to shoot kind of mid lungs, right? Like I need to, there was that great video. Someone cut the rib out, and they were blowing the lungs up in the deer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Someone needs to cut a deer in half, remove the ribs, remove the guts, but leave the lungs and heart hanging there, so people can see that. Like because. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, is like, I have an idea because I've cut a lot out. But for me, it looks like the top of the heart actually sits kind of close to the spine because of the way the pipe work comes down into it, the arteries and stuff, It's not hard up against there, but that makes sense structurally wise as well, that it's kind of close to a structural support, which is the spine there, right? And everyone knows that the aorta or whatever it is goes back up across the spine down to the back legs as well. So,
and up into the neck, into the head. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, like, to shoot the top of the heart, you have to be shooting kind of mid lungs. Anyway,
well, the lungs are there, so you're shooting. Yeah. Lungs have multiple lobes. You probably know this.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's 3 on the left and 2 on the right. Except for pigs, they have 6. So they have a little special one in the middle for no damn reason other than God wanted us to have something to look at.
Yeah.
And when you shoot, say, above the elbow, 2 inches above the elbow, that's going to be heart and front lobes and probably the arteries coming out of the heart. And it's absolutely devastating. And because you've cut the heart, arteries and stuff off, that's paramount. But the collapse of the lungs starts from the front, not from the rear. So since there are different lobes, if you shoot them where the mechanical guys say to shoot them, which is 4.5 inches behind the crease, you're going for seriously.
I know. It drives me insane. Yeah.
You're shooting the back 2 lobes. It is completely lethal.
Yes.
Except the front lobes have to collapse to the rear. It will do. And I want to make this point too. Lungs don't collapse. Like, they don't pop like a balloon. They don't reduce to half their size. There's too much mass of stuff there. What collapse means is, and this is the simple version, this is actually a very accurate version. If you took a sponge and you filled it with water. Now, imagine the water in the sponge is air. Squeeze the water out. Okay, that's the collapse. When you
Yes.
squeeze that lung, the only reason the water drips out is because you squeeze it down and you smashed all those little holes in there that would be
Mm-hmm.
filled with air, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they all start collapsing inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. Millions of airways collapse
Yes.
all at once, right?
Yes.
And then they obviously can't breathe. So, plus lung blood loss. So,
Yeah.
that's the simple way to think about it. But the sponge still doesn't pop.
No.
It's still a superstructure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding, right, is like, especially if the diaphragm's gone, or like there's the hole, like they said, there's a hole in there. Is there's no pressure there for the the only reason the lungs expand is because it's a pressurized unit and the diaphragm's moving, which expands the lungs, right?
Correct. So your current air pressure is 14.7 psi at sea level. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When your diaphragm is across from rib to rib, it literally pulls back when you inhale. Not a lot of space
Yes.
there. Creates negative pressure below
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
atmospheric. Draws
Yes.
air in to a certain.
Yes.
Expands ribs.
Yes.
Ribs push back. Push the air out above 14.7 psi. If
Yes.
you shoot from behind and you cut the diaphragm, that bellows is
Yes.
it's not gonna function 100%. It's not completely collapsed, but it sure as hell won't help them. And then you hit the lungs and cause all kind of problems.
Yeah.
But
because that's the other thing too is like I think a lot of people think that a deer dies from blood loss like that, and of course it can, like, especially if you're talking about what I'm talking about, cutting across the top of the thing. But if you're just hitting lungs, it's actually the oxygen starvation, isn't it? More so than blood loss.
and there's a ton of arteries in there and veins,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah,
get both. It's
but
just
we're
not
talking about
devastating.
but we're talking about if you shoot with a mechanical guy, say to shoot, like, we're talking about the differences. Like, I'm always straight up the leg, and I learned that from rifles. Okay, sure, it messes up some of the meat sometimes or whatever like that. Quartering away shots best, fine, but like, it makes me sick, and I really don't understand why. Like, this is
I
a stereo.
know
This is a
why
stereo.
it won't penetrate forward.
Yeah, but
They're shooting where it'll penetrate.
yeah, but this is the thing is like it's this is like, how stereotypes are supposed to be only stereotypes, right? But if I said that Americans shoot too far back, that's quite a realistic thing,
Yeah,
and like,
absolutely.
I don't understand it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So
No, it's actually kind of common with rifles too. I see people shooting 30-06s and the deer run off, and I'm like, what the ran off?
yeah.
Now I'm evil. I'm a shoulder shooter with a rifle. I go
Yes.
like mid body, straight up the leg,
Yes.
vertically middle.
Yep.
Just if I was no even on the meat deer I've shot, I've done that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to Colorado in 10 days.
Yes.
20 days. I've got a second season rifle tag because I put in for archery and I put in for gun and I put in for everything. And that's, if you're going to hunt out west in the U.S., you better put in for everything because you won't get drawn for one, get the other. So I got a great rifle tag. My buddy Chris is great. And if I get a shot at a mule deer, I'm hunting horns.
Yeah. You're going to go for a
I'm
big
not
one.
shooting a deer. I'm not.
Yes.
If we don't see a deer near 180, I'm not shooting a deer just to shoot one.
Mhm.
But if I get my shot, I'm going for the edge of the scapula.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I want them to anchor. I'm not shooting 350 yards across a canyon and chasing a mule deer across the countryside. Screw that.
No. Yeah.
I'm going to anchor.
Well, I mean, that's what my dad told me, to aim always straight up top of the leg, just on the top there. And
it's devastating with a bow. When I finally started doing it, when I went to Africa, they tell you,
yes,
you can pay us for dead ones, or you can pay us
Yes.
for the ones that are still running around.
Yeah.
But you better shoot them straight up the leg because everything's forward here.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And I absolutely rocked everything. And I said, wow, I'm going to start doing that on deer. Holy crap. There's no tracking. You shoot and you hear thump.
But basically, if I watch the deer and I can still see it after 30 seconds, it's not wobbling, I know it wasn't a good shot.
Yeah, right.
That's basically my thing now. So, yeah, I mean, you might get one lung or something like that, and it's still not healthy. But if you get it in a good spot, usually it's 15, 20 seconds and it's over, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's just 60 or 70. That's what I started seeing on the pigs when I started getting aggressive on the shoulder, shooting them lower.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we shoot them, and if we back up the camera, we say, "Oh, that pig's dead," and we just go get them.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
by the time you get the camera back and fiddle around, put your lights up and all that, 10 minutes have passed. Back up the
Yeah.
camera. Ooh, right in the shoulder. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go get him. Damn thing's dead. And they're dead.
Yep.
It sounds really arrogant, but it just keeps happening. And then if I hit one back, like I was hunting this one pig. He's probably 250 or 60 pounds. We call him Mr. Wrinkles. He's been out at the hill out here, my local place, forever. And he's super smart. And I hunted him 10 straight times. Never saw him. And on the 10th hunt, he comes in. 17 yards. I push the button. The camera is rolling. If you're going to run camera, make sure that you see the numbers scrolling before you shoot. I've done that. That's why cameras are handy.
Yeah.
I draw on him, and there was another pig there. And I literally turn it loose, and he chased the pig.
Yeah.
If he'd have stood still for one more second, but he didn't. 4 inches back.
Yeah.
Right through him. Arrow went 30 yards past him. Hit a rock and skipped. I was like, I backed the camera up. I was like, oh. That sumbitch showed up at another deer feeder 10 days later. He didn't die.
Wow.
4 inches behind the crease. And that was because all he was doing was chasing that other pig. At the second I released, he just went scoop like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he was so big. He was one you'd have to drag with the scooter.
Yeah.
Like, you're not
so he's still out there though, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, maybe.
Mr. Wrinkles is still out there. He showed up this year and
Mr.
shaked his ass
Wrinkles.
at me. We go on my camera and give me the woo, and then I'd never see him. I hate that guy. He's a butthole.
Yeah, he's basically just coming past and you're flicking the birdie at you because he knows.
It's almost like I shouldn't hunt him anymore. Just let him live. He wins.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, another, like, maybe it already exists. I don't know, because, like, you know, when you're bow hunting, you got a lot of time to yourself, especially if you're hanging in the trees or whatever. But like something else I think that might help is, like, whatever I've done in life, I look at things like a mental toolbox, right? So all the information you get, you can pick out whatever you want and stuff like that. And that's what happened when I went down the heavy arrow path, and, you know, looked at it all as all the little, you know, the guidelines or whatever for heavy arrows. My brain's dying here on the spot, but, you know, all of those are tools, right? So as long as you understand all the tools, you can use them differently and safely. And so I was trying to work out, like, how do people start thinking about broadheads properly, right? Because I actually believe that there are a place for mechanical broadheads. It's about, like, what you're shooting and kind of like your skill level and stuff like that too. Like, I mean, the goats in New Zealand I shoot, well, I haven't since I've got sponsorship with VPA, but I used to shoot them with those Chinese junk Rage mechanicals, right? Because they're one and dones, but goats are paper thin. Like I told you last time, they just give up real easy. I'm dead, all right, thank you. And so when we're talking about broadhead efficiency, because that's what everyone wants, right? They want to know what a broadhead is. And, like, efficiency, I think you need to break down into, like, a few different categories. Okay, so obviously we talked about it as sharpness would be one, and, you know, that's a deep subject. That's the top thing. The cut area, so, like, how much tissue damage it's going to do, and then also penetration. So those are the three things that I think you should look at. Like, and I think it depends on what you're shooting, what species and stuff, because you talked about it before. Like, I actually now want a larger single bevel or something, because this is going to sound weird, but I'm getting too much efficiency with penetration. My sharpness is fine, but I'm not getting enough cut area. And because I am blowing through everything, like, all the time, right, is that I feel like I have wasted energy where I could, you know, have a slightly wider broadhead or maybe another blade on there. Maybe I need to go 3-blade or something like that. But, you know, I hope this is kind of making sense to you, is that I feel like broadheads are tools, and, you know, like, yeah, sure, a bigger cut's nicer, right? So, like, what I'm trying to say is that I'm starting to think about, you know, trying to find a bit more of a happy medium between the single bevel, the 2-blade, and not, you know, I won't probably use a mechanical, but do you understand what I'm talking about with broadhead efficiency here? Is that I want something like I feel like I have wasted energy in my shots. That's all I can
Have
say
you
to
hit
you
one
is
in
that
a hard spot yet?
yeah, I've had a few in the hard spot.
What hard spot?
The femur and the big leg bone in
Have
here.
you broke the
So
humerus,
yes,
shattered it off, and passed through?
yes,
Then I
yeah.
wouldn't mess
So
with what you got. So
well,
the broadhead discussion, I said this on a podcast, I think with Vortex, and the poor guy's head was about to pop off.
yes,
Back to what I was saying about the edge and its ability to maintain sharpness. I really think you need to start with durability first.
of course,
Aeroflight aside, so we're acting like you've got aeroflight.
yes,
Won't
correct,
fly, per our discussion earlier about the longer broadheads wouldn't fly for
yes,
you. If they won't fly,
yeah,
you cannot shoot it. Okay.
no,
Well, you can. I'll let you do whatever the hell you want. I'm telling you not
yeah,
to do it.
I
But the
understand what
more
you're
I
saying.
do this, the edge, integrity, sharpness through anything it hits is so overwhelmingly in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
That is the first thing if you're choosing a broadhead. And I think I'm the only person talking about this. So unfortunately, you're going to have to listen to my stupid ass or not. But it's so important, especially when you get pigs and elk roll in the mud.
Yes,
Right? You start to talk about stuff that's got extra grit on it, chew the blades up. You really need to be thinking about, will this broadhead survive? And you can actually shoot what you've got, look at them after the hit. If you stick them in a rock or something, that one throws out. But if you're shooting in a field in the Midwest and it hits mud and you pick it up and the blades are all dinged up, it's going to cost you one day. One of them's going to get away. Now, one of the things that's dramatically overlooked, and John Dudley has a podcast with a surgeon who shoots single bevels. It's before mine, I think, or it's around the one I did, somewhere in there.
yeah,
And that guy shoots single bevels, and Dr. Ed talked about this at length. They cut on a bias. So they rotate, which means they have the capacity to wind up mobile tissue.
Yes.
Like winding spaghetti up on a fork. It's not that fast. It's just good mental image.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay. Secondarily, one of the reasons you're seeing efficiency is because your broadhead, your arrow's rotating, and the broadhead rotates when it hits, and it's just following. It's already spinning.
Yeah.
And it just says, great, I'm already spinning. Every other broadhead platform on Earth stops rotating at impact. They hit and they stop. And that's energy that's doing this, that stops doing it, and it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
The shaft's going to start doing this. The energy's going somewhere. It just doesn't dissipate.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So the cut on the bias, the rotation through soft tissue, edge durability, and then the other thing that people do not understand enough about single bevels is how thin they are. If you have a 30-degree single bevel that is flat on the other side, it is a 30-degree bevel. If you shoot a double bevel, if you shoot a 3-blade, it is 2 30s. It's a 60-degree bevel. Much less sharp, extremely durable.
Yes.
Your single bevel is here. Thin.
Yes.
So you got assistance from the fletchings, already pre-spinning the broadhead. Now the bevel angle is so steep, it really takes off when it hits.
Yes.
So you're rotating about once every 16 inches with a regular fletch, 1 to 3 degree, and then you go to 40 degrees, right? It's going to really take off, or 30, excuse me.
Yeah.
So you got the bias cut. Every artery is cut at an angle. Every airway, everything's cut at an angle. So it's not it can't just go doop and match back up. It's cut like that. It has less of a capacity you get the wind up in the soft tissues, you get this efficiency coming in, and the broadhead keeps rotating. So those 3 things, that's why you're seeing what you're seeing, Matt. You're seeing all of that stuff working together, and it creates this incredible platform. You don't expect to leave an arrow in an animal, do you? You've shot enough of them now. You shoot and you go, hey, it's going through, and we have to go 15 yards to pick it up.
Yeah.
And that's what people aren't used to seeing. One of the sad things about the YouTube world and video is the mechanical guys, 90%, there's so many shots that are half an arrow in them.
Yeah.
Smoked him. And they may be
Yeah.
good shot placement, and the deer may go for 60 yards and die.
Yeah.
It starts to imprint. And you start to think, you actually don't mentally do the math that you're being taught half an arrow's right.
Mm-hmm.
But you just see it enough, right?
Yeah.
You just constantly reprogramming your head. And then you talk to guys like you're not shooting super heavy. You're actually shooting a lot of velocity. And
yes.
But you've got a super durable thing on the front, and you got all these components working for you. And you're just like, golly gee, man, it's so boring. It just goes through them. I want it to not go through them.
Well, it's not that. It's not that I don't want it to go through. Yeah. It's just that I want more cut. That's what it is. It's like if we go to those three things, I've got sharpness good, penetration good, but I think I've got over penetration is what I'm trying to say, and I feel like I could push a little bit more cut through there.
Well, that's then get a wider broadhead and go shoot a bunch of animals and find. There's only one way to find out this stuff.
Yeah, right? Well, I talked to Ryan and stuff at VPA, and they went, maybe. Yeah. So we'll see. And like that,
I just don't know how wide you can go before you start to remember the surface area discussion. Tall is not any better than long in your argument, right?
Correct. So
you start to increase the surface area tall, and a lot of my friends in the aerodynamics world say taller fletchings are better.
Yes,
they're more stable.
Okay. Makes sense. Well, I mean, it's going to grab more air, right? So
correct.
That makes sense.
When you put a big fatty up front,
it's going to do the same.
I don't know. I've not shot a really wide broadhead in. Back in the day, when Mike Somm owned Magnus Traditional, he had this thing called a Magnus 1, and it was like 1 inch and 3/8 or 1/4, and it had 1 inch bleeder blades on it. It was like shooting an axe. The thing was massive. It was humongous.
Yeah.
Get it to fly.
What did it weigh?
They were like 175 or something.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So it had to be, right? They're big, but it was absolutely atrocious. And but getting it to fly was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Now this is before I knew how to bear shaft and all that stuff. I bet I can make it fly now, but I'm not going to take the bone thing away. I just can't get past the 1/4 2 shot. I can't get past, one of the things I cannot get past, the Western guys ride my ass nonstop about the distance thing. And when I watch the Hunting Public and I watch a bunch of channels, I don't watch all the stuff. I just go to the shots because I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I see like 80% walking up to them shots on elk. It's like unavoidable. You're calling.
Yes.
You might have a decoy.
Yeah.
And the elk's coming.
Yeah.
I see a lot of shots that are quartering in, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. But the distance thing, because I think we just touched on it before, is that what you see on YouTube, I don't think a lot of people, from what I understand, can really call elk in like those good guys properly, No,
I'm just saying, if you start to just, for everybody listening, just next time you're watching elk, just watch how many of them are coming at the hunter.
Oh, you're talking about the angle they're coming in on.
Yeah, they're not walking.
All right, I got you now. Sorry,
they're coming to the call. They're coming at you.
Yeah.
And animals, if they spot you, tend to 1/4 2 because they spin to look at you. Like they're not going to go. They're not going to turn their butt to you and look back at you. If they hear a noise, they're going to rotate just like we would. You're going to go like this. I'm not going to go, hey, man, Matt, you call my name. Hey, man, what's up? I'm not doing that, right?
Yeah.
So I see so many 1/4 2 shots on 600-pound elk, 500-pound elk, and some guy shooting some flimsy-ass broadhead and shoots them back in hopes. And it's 17 yards.
Yeah.
It's not 100, right?
Yeah.
And I just go, it happens so many times. And everybody wants to call a bull elk and shoot one. I mean, how much fun would that be?
Exciting.
We've called them. I've never shot one, but I've been there when we called them.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get a lot of broadside shots because you're putting yourself in that situation. You're trying to call them, right? Turkeys are going to walk up to you. If you called a deer, it would come at you, everything. And then all of a sudden you enter the bone into the situation I had this discussion with Aaron Warburton. One of the first elk he ever called came in and he drew back and said, "I can't do it."
Yeah.
This is 15 years ago. Big 6x6. You showed me the video. Big 6x6,
Yes.
16 yards.
Yes.
And from all the deer he'd shot back then, before he made any changes, he literally drew and went. It was pretty hard quartering to him. And he goes, he let down.
Yeah.
And I just went, God, that's a lot of discipline.
Yeah, it is. Most people would have sent that.
Most people would send it and pray, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hope, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't. And I said, "What was going through your head?" He goes, I knew it wouldn't work. And this is before he knew me, before anything.
Yeah.
I'd seen a lot of deer. He was a cameraman for Midwest Whitetail.
Yeah.
And he said, my brain literally went, that is a bull elk. That is not a deer. I know what's going to happen. And he let down at 17 yards. Now, he's got one full length this way last year. Yeah. All the way to the pelvis.
Yeah. I imagine so. Hey, I got a crazy story for you, actually. I'll keep it like it involves a friend of mine, so I won't say details, but someone shot an eland this year.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect shot. And again, I was filming and it ran off. And I won't put details there, but it stood there for a very long time. Okay. And we couldn't put a follow-up shot on it because it was like only asked to us, right? There was no, there was like tiny little window like this.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, it's going to tip over soon. And I watched through the video again, perfect shot, not too far back. And it just stood there. Okay. Mm-hmm. A very long period of time had gone past now. And so we rang up one of the other PHs and said, hey, look, can you sneak in here and shoot this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want it to spook and run off. Okay. Mm-hmm. Anyway, no worries. He comes in, accidentally spooks it. It runs off. Okay. It runs off and falls over. Mm-hmm. So where it stood there, it was leaking a little bit, but it was like this thing had done its first aid course and it knew not to panic. It was just standing there. It had obviously somehow managed to seal the holes on the lungs, but as soon as it started running, it was over for it. It was over. Like the blood was crazy everywhere. It was spewing out everywhere, and it tipped over in about 70 yards, I think. And it was just the most insane thing I've ever seen.
So in terms of so I'm going to guess if you're telling me it was on the crease, like that far.
No, it was about an inch back on the crease.
Okay,
but how big the
broadside.
Yeah, you know how big the elands are. They're huge. So
broadside.
Yeah, broadside, perfectly broadside. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So there's always the possibility. This is one of the reasons why blood trails aren't predictable. Everybody thinks that the tissue just makes a hole.
Correct. Yeah.
Please look at your animals and tell me that's true.
Yeah.
Go look at the wounds.
Yes.
Depending on the angle, that eland could have been just quartered.
Yes.
I mean, a little bit. All of a sudden,
I understand.
You have a hole that goes in, and what can happen is it's not a very high percentage chance. Like you saw something that was really rare, actually, probably. So I'm totally speculating.
Yeah.
But if the chest wall seals, they can sort of breathe.
I think this is exactly what must have happened.
Right. So then the blood's leaking out, and then when you spooked him, he inhaled, blew it out, and his lungs collapsed more than they were.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only guess I got on it for you is because I know this happens in penetrating wounds on humans. They live a lot of people live a long time.
Yes.
And you know what the advice is if you have something stuck in your body? And
leave it in there.
Leave it in there
mm-hmm.
until you get to where there's blood and you can pull it out.
Yeah.
Now the arrow's not in this eland, but there's a possibility that you have.
Of course, the layers.
You had a hole.
The layers have sealed it,
and that it just covered it up.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to fall over.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you spooked him, he took a big breath, blew it out the holes, and then there was a massive pneumothorax, and then that was it. And the blood had pooled up, so he could really blow it out.
yeah, exactly. So it was just insane because we watched the video over and it's like, this thing's going to fall over soon.
Mm-hmm.
No. And it would just locked up in position. It was just sitting there like that, And like I say, the only joking thing I can is it had done its first aid course and it knew what to do in that situation.
Don't start running now.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, that's cool, man. Um, we've got a couple of little things to talk about. Which one is like a theory, what, like in everything in life, you have one extreme to the other extreme, right? So,
Mhm.
in theory, because you can tune it, at, adding weight to the rear of an arrow, right? You could get good flight for that from that, like to the extreme where if you only loaded the back and you shot it, it would flick around and correct itself. Just in theory, I'm talking about, like,
Mhm.
everyone's messed around with a heavy broadhead and you throw the arrow backwards, it turns around in
Yeah,
the
right.
air. So this is what obviously it's not an efficient way to fly. I'm not suggesting that at all.
Hmm.
But what I'm trying to talk about is what, like, if you have a perfect flying arrow with weight on the back, and this is only a stupid theory discussion. I don't have anything
Hmm.
good with it. I'm just
No,
wondering, like,
it's a good question.
what is what happens on impact? Because we're assuming the arrow flight's good, okay?
Hmm.
So let's say you have 100 on the front, 100 on the back. So it's a perfectly weighted arrow, okay?
Hmm.
Like, what happens on impact?
Depends.
But, like, what do you mean? Depends. Is like, I'm trying to think. Is like, if it's flying perfectly,
Hmm.
then surely it must.
Here's the leap you're not making or you're making.
Okay,
You're assuming that the broadhead's going to hit perfectly square every single time.
correct. Yes.
Okay, assuming that, you're fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So
then
then,
then we then we get into reality.
okay, we start getting some angles and some hard stuff. What do you think is going to happen to that end weight?
The ass is just going to go sideways.
So that's what I was thinking as well. So, and you're probably likely to see arrow snapping, maybe a little
Most
bit if
likely, you'll
it's
see a ton of flex because no arrow. It looks like it, but they bend really hard when they hit.
yeah,
Even soft tissue, they bend more than you believe. Right? They
yeah,
go because they're flying along, hitting nothing. Then they hit something. They
yeah,
slow. They slow way down.
yeah.
Way down
I
could
got
be
heaps of
way down could be
really nice.
15%. Right? Not a lot,
Yeah.
just way down.
Yes.
Well, that energy
Yes.
goes somewhere. That arrow
Hmm.
bends. Right? All of a
Yes.
sudden, that weight bends, and it's going to take on its own gravitational force. It has now left the shot line.
Yeah.
So here's a
No, I
tail
was
weighted
just.
device, right? Here's a screwdriver.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. Yeah.
hits, it bends in the
Yeah.
middle. This
And that's
starts
gonna keep
going this
going.
way.
Yeah.
It's not gonna want to get back on the
No.
shot line.
No. No. This is cool. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen. This is again just me in my saddle with too many hours
Yeah,
waiting for a
right.
deer
No,
to
it's a
come in.
great question. A
You
lot
know.
of people wonder about that. Is
Yeah.
why can't I just make it heavy on both ends and fire it out there? Well, you
Yeah.
can until you hit some until you hit something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Until you hit something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The javelin world, they actually made them add forward to center. There's a certain
Mm-hmm.
forward to center level you can't violate in the javelin world because when you throw a pretty zero FOC javelin, they
Mm-hmm.
tend to fly like
Mm-hmm.
this and they
Yeah.
sit on the air and they carry like that. Well, they hit the
Yeah.
ground and skip off and they puncture some guy's leg running the 400. So they actually made them increase the forward to center so they'd go like this and stick
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
They actually had them hitting the ground and skipping
Yeah.
across and scaring the hell out of everybody. I think it's funny.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I think it's funny too. But I was just thinking actually about some of my early bow experiences with arrows deflecting off leaf layer on the ground. Or I went to PA, like I must have only been bow hunting, I don't know, 9 months or something, right? So pretty damn new. And I shot at this turkey, missed. I was just, praying and hoping basically. But and I was using the dead meats, the
Mhm.
G5 dead meats,
Oh yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it just hit the leaf and just went to orbit.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was a wet day. I was thinking I was going to stick in there fine, but nope, never found that arrow. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
gone.
It's because it went
So
doop.
yeah, exactly, like skimming stones on the water, basically.
Right, and
So
then the
yeah,
mechanicals are more likely to skip because the blades are going to deploy and they're big ramps. I would
yeah,
think, I don't know. I
yeah,
haven't tested that. I'm not doing it. That would be funny as shit, but I'm not going to probably do
yeah,
it.
yeah. So no, that's cool. So what do you got future plans wise? You going to the ATA show again this year, or you don't know
No,
yet?
I'm not going to ATA. The value of the ATA show is absolutely zero for me.
Yeah.
It's really lost its value over the last 2 or 3 years. The crowds were a
Mhm.
lot smaller.
Yeah. I
And
thought last year was a bit better, but the first year I met you there, there was
yeah, it
a
was
ghost
rough.
town.
So I
It
won't
was
be at
ghost town.
ATA. I've
Yeah.
I've tried to. The first time I spoke at ATA, I think you were there. I drew a big crowd,
I
and
filmed it for you.
yeah, and then Jim
Yeah.
decided to
Yeah.
take over.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
won't let that happen again. Next time he gets the mic, and I'll just sit down and let him tell us how great he is. But
Yeah.
I keep asking those people if I can speak, and I get no response from them.
Uh-huh.
None. We had, I don't know
Interesting.
how many people, but it was standing room only over
Well,
there.
yeah, I mean, all the seats were filled, and then everyone else, because, like I said, I set my tripod up, and I had to move, like, before I started because people
Hmm.
filled in front of my camera.
Right. And I'm not
But
trying to
anyway,
blow
yeah,
my own
yeah,
horn. I'm just surprised that
yeah.
I can't,
It's interesting.
not allowed. They just
Yeah.
don't. I was even on the guy who runs the podcast for ATA. I was on a podcast with them.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
keep saying, hey, I want to talk about energy, or I want to talk about, I'm not going to try to sell you broadheads or whatever. I'll talk about
Mhm.
some stuff that's pretty factual. That talk I
Mhm.
did was just downrange energy.
Mhm.
And I don't intend to go in there and just call the whole building a bunch of idiots. That's stupid, right? But there's some really factual, like the broadhead sharpness thing. Bring us broadhead sharpness tester, and then talk about the durability thing. Like, think
Yes.
about your broadheads. Why does a
Yeah.
single bevel, it's rotating, it rotates when it
Well,
hits, it cuts on a bevel, the
mhm.
durability, extra sharp. There's just
Well,
advantages to that stuff.
yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying before, is that everything you learn, like, you have a mental toolbox, and
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what I've taken away from all the Ed Ashby stuff, is I understand all the points and why you need them now.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's the same as, like, I was an arborist for 16 years.
Right.
I can teach anyone in a day how to cut down a tree better than most qualified arborists, because
Mm-hmm.
in the education system for arboriculture and forestry, they
Mm-hmm.
tell you to make the cuts. They don't tell you why to make the cuts.
Right.
So I explained to the people what happens if you change the angle, what happens if you leave a bit more holding wood there. And as soon as you understand the dynamics of it or the theory behind it,
Mm-hmm.
you're like 15 times ahead of anybody else in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I've looked at going down the Ed Ashby thing. And then, like I say, I step back a little bit to what do you want to call it? I know there's a scientific method for that, but just to reevaluate,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the results I'm seeing are proper and not just a mental thing in my
Mm-hmm.
head. So, yeah. And so that's exactly right. Is that, like, and this is just me talking to you, is I think people get put off because they think your way is, you're saying it's your way or the highway, but really the way I see it is it's a whole bunch of information that people should do what they want with. There
Mm-hmm.
are really good fundamentals. Perfect arrow flight is essential,
And
like,
it's a
really,
pain
like,
in the ass too. It's a pain in
yeah.
the ass.
And everyone knows that you need a sharp broadhead, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there are parts
But I'm telling
structurally.
you, nobody talks about the durability discussion we had.
Yeah.
That's not discussed.
But the
It's
other thing
not
you think about,
discussed.
right? The other thing
But
you think about, right?
I don't think that there's industry people intentionally avoiding that discussion. I don't think they think about it one damn bit. I don't think it's
Well,
even. I don't think they think about it.
well, I think they do, because, and I can say this because, we're both hooked up with good companies that make quality broadheads, right? So we don't need to worry about that. But if you think about any industry, almost things are made to break, so you have to buy new things. And I
Mm-hmm.
really think that a lot of the archery gear, sadly, is the same
Well, there
as
might be
that.
that, but I don't know that they. I know that there's some mechanical broadhead companies out there that are totally into the one and done, so they can sell more broadheads. It's fine.
Correct.
Running a P&L.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
doing really good, and those guys make a pile of money, so good for them. But
Yeah.
the durability, I don't know that the dots are connected
Yeah.
for a
Okay.
lot of people. That I don't. Like I said, I was talking to the guy from Vortex, and he literally went like this,
Yes.
and he said, I've never connected the dots. Like, I've never thought about that. And I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I say this to a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, and they go,
Mm.
God, it's got to, like, clean a pig with a knife.
Yes.
They eat knives. Well, your knife's not going 280 feet per second
Mm-hmm.
and hits a rib too and cuts through some mud.
Yeah.
And then it's duller, and then it gets to the stuff to kill them and it's duller.
Yeah.
And once you flip the switch, I mean, your testament to wanting a wider broadhead or whatever is freaking hilarious. Like I'm so lethal. I want to buy something bigger so it's not as doesn't penetrate as much. I'm kicking you in the ass a little bit.
Give me the 600 nitro, man. All
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's
600 nitro.
yeah.
That's everything, right? So it's funny that you're there. Like you've totally gone totally over the edge and went,
yes.
okay, now, like, no bad stuff happens. This sucks. I want bad stuff. I know you're not saying it. I'm messing with you.
Yeah. Man, I've had some embarrassing moments this year, Troy. I've had some very bad moments.
I'm there now.
Dude,
Rob Nielsen's wife shoots 43 pounds at 25 inches. It's a 575 grain arrow that's 30% 4 to 7.
Yes.
It's a unicorn arrow.
Yeah, okay.
She has killed 6 bull nilgai.
Yes.
6, not 1. She's had 3 pass-throughs.
Wow.
And
that's
she
impressive.
buried it to the fletch at 40 on 1.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, well, yeah. She's this little short lady, super nice school teacher. Oh, yeah, Troy, you just kind of shoot you a nilgai. You know, she's, oh, it's wonderful. I love shooting nilgai. It's fine. She thinks deer and piggers are just like, whatever, I'll shoot those guys. She took that bow. They had a downed Cape Buffalo. They were doing testing for the ASPE Foundation. We have 2 new reports that are compound-based, 80-pound compound, you know, all kind of broadheads. They're on the ASPE Foundation supplemental reports. She put 5 arrows to the fletch at 20 yards on a Cape Buffalo bull. The broadhead hit the opposite rib cage. It just continues to happen. It does. Mm-hmm. You just get your system right, and you're going to have your problem. Golly, Troy, I shoot through everything.
Yeah.
Pisses me off. You're not breaking arrows anymore when you're anchored in them. I mean, come on, man. Just pick them up, wash them off, shoot them again.
Yeah. Well, I have, I got 3 packs of single bevels. So 9, what's that? No. Yeah, 9. Mm-hmm. 9 single bevels, and I've been shooting them 18 months now. And I don't know how many animals I killed with them.
It's just such a money-saving deal. You have to lose them. I laugh. I was talking to Seth about that. I was like, we got to find something that breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The ranch fairy broadhead
exactly
don't break.
Right.
You just pick it up.
No.
Even if you skip it off a rock, you can sharpen it up. And if you get 6 and you ding one real bad, or you hit like the metal leg on a 3D target, just commit that to target. Just scratch your practice head. Throw it in the pile.
Yeah.
If you ding one up real bad. But it's still fly. And then
this whole thing is, I have like 1 or 2 that are my, not so good ones. They've got like 1 little chip out of them or something like that, but they still fly good. And I'd probably still send it at a deer, I think, to be honest. It's like, what do you want to say, like 5% less surface cutting area on it than the rest of it.
So, the rest of them are sharp. Yeah. So it's good stuff. All right, man, I've got to go. My son had a battery go out on his car earlier today, so I got to go fix that or help him fix it.
Dude, I appreciate it.
And
I appreciate it a lot.
It's always good talking to you.
It is good. It's a shame I won't see you at the ATA show this year, but it's all good, man.
Well, I'm talking about some trash. I might show up, but for the expense and stuff, if they paid for me to get there, I'll go. But I don't have anybody who wants to pay for me to be there. And like I said, I sound like a whiner. I really like teaching and presenting, and I would, present scientific stuff and not try to start a war. But I was really surprised at the crowd I drew.
It was good.
I watched all those coffee talks or whatever. They just put me in the corner or whatever. There was 9 people watching them.
Yeah.
And there obviously is demand for somebody who has something a little different to say. And I don't know if it's intentional, but I ask every year. I put in my thing and I say, hey, this is what I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Freaking crickets.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. You know what I do? I got 17 fishing rods over there. I'm actually leaving Sunday. I just got back yesterday from fishing. I'm going back because another cold front's coming through, and that's when it's really good. So I will send pictures on Instagram. You'll see me grinning like a jackass eating a prickly pear. It'll be great.
Perfect, man. I appreciate it. I want to see them,
man.
No worries. Thank you as well, buddy. I appreciate it. Cheers.